Your kid is standing outside your door deciding whether talking to you is a risk. Not because they did something wrong, but because you might emotionally detonate. For most of their childhood, coming to you came back safe. At some point, it stopped being safe. Now they're measuring your mood, whether you've had coffee, whether Mercury is in retrograde, because of what your face did last time they told you the truth. One moment you've already forgotten. One they still know exactly. 5 patterns, including one that comes from love and still lands like a threat, that decide whether your kid keeps the door open or quietly seals it. What a safe person actually means to their brain. Picture your kid at 4 years old, following you into the bathroom, reaching for your leg the second something scares them. A loud sound, an unfamiliar face, a dog they hadn't met yet. That pull toward you was how their brain was being wired. John Bowlby, yes, real name, not a Marvel villain, spent decades on one idea. Every child is biologically hardwired to use one specific person as their secure base, the human their brain routes to when something goes wrong. When a child is threatened, their stress response fires. Translation, tiny human brain goes, "We are under attack." And the built-in solution, the one designed to bring all that down, is proximity to the parent. You are, to your kid's brain, the biological off switch for panic. No pressure. Most parents believe that as long as you're not obviously harmful, not hitting, not screaming, they're safe. Most parents think, "I didn't yell today. I deserve a medal." That's not how it works. What makes a parent unsafe to a child's brain has almost nothing to do with the dramatic moments. It happens in the ordinary ones. It just requires enough inconsistency or enough unprocessed reaction to teach a child that bringing the real stuff to you is a risk they can't keep absorbing. There's a term for this: disorganized attachment. Same person, comfort and jump scare. The child needs you to feel safe, but approaching you feels dangerous. So they freeze, they comply, they quietly stop bringing things that feel risky. The alarm didn't turn off, it just changed targets. The face before the words. Your face did the thing before you finished listening. The warmth that was there 3 seconds ago just vacated the room. Your voice went flat. You think you hit it. You didn't. Your face filed a full report. Your kid's been studying your face for years. They know the difference between your listening face and your "this is about to become a whole thing" face. They know the tightening around your eyes that comes before a hard conversation. They track your mood like weather. Congratulations, you just became a weather system, and they just became the person checking the forecast. Their brain has been running continuous reads on your emotional signals since they were born, and they're more sensitive to yours than any other adult in the room. The micro shift in your face gets filed. "I brought them something real." Their face said, "Wrong time, bad move." Do that consistently enough, and they stop bringing things. No announcement, no argument. They quietly update the list of topics that are off limits. It grows. Eventually, it includes most of what's actually happening with them. The inconsistency problem, worse than being consistently hard. Inconsistency is harder on a kid than strictness. Maybe you're the parent who's warm 9 days out of 10, present, available, genuinely good at this. Day 10, surprise guest appearance by your unresolved issues. Flat, reactive, somewhere else. And your kid, who ran the usual calculation, got a completely different answer than yesterday. Here's the counterintuitive thing. This parent is harder to wire around than a consistently cold one. With a predictably distant parent, a child can organize a strategy. They know what to expect. With the warm, then gone parent, there's no learnable pattern, so they stay on high alert. And this shows up again and again. Unpredictability hits harder than harshness. What you do matters less than whether they can predict you. Kids don't need perfect. They need you to be not a mystery box. When you're warm one day and gone the next, children can't develop a coherent coping strategy. They either go hypervigilant, running constant reads on which version of you's coming through the door today, or they shut down and stop needing things outright. Your kid doesn't learn sometimes available. They learn that safety itself is unpredictable, and that's what sticks. But inconsistency is only the second hardest pattern to sit with. The next one is the one most parents walk away from feeling like they handled well. When you make their crisis about your feelings. There's a very specific moment as a teenager when you watch your parent receive hard news. You walk in, you tell them the thing, the test you failed, the team you quit, the situation you've been carrying for 3 weeks. And in that moment, something flips. Do you know how worried this makes me? I raised you better than this. I don't even know what to do with this information right now. The classic, how did this become about me move? I done this. My kid finally told me something they'd been carrying for weeks. And my first response was in the vicinity of, why didn't you tell me sooner? Parenting, where you realize you are, in fact, the plot twist that lands as your reality just became my problem, which means next time they're running a longer calculation before they come back. When a parent centers their own distress in response to their child's disclosure, even genuine, well-meaning distress, the child receives one specific message. My reality is too heavy for my parent. Bringing it here is a liability, not a resource. Not, my parent cares. It's, come back when it's a smaller version of this. And here's the part that catches most parents completely off guard. The next pattern isn't explosive. It's quiet. And parents are still slightly proud of it. The calm, cold response, the one parents are proud of. Here's the one nobody talks about because parents are still slightly proud of it. You didn't explode. You went completely calm and quiet and measured. Your face shut down. Your tone went flat. Your responses became short and technically polite. You call it composed. They call it, I've lost him. There's a name for this. I'm not angry. I'm just deeply disappointed in your entire existence face. You're physically present. You're not yelling. You're technically responding. But the warmth is gone, and everyone in the room can feel it, including the kid who now has to manage both the original problem and your ambient emotional weather system. Research on parental emotion regulation found that when parents suppress their own emotions, going deliberately passive, pretending everything's fine, children don't experience this as composure. They experience it as distance. The emotional absence reads, in their brain, as a form of rejection. Children exposed to it develop the same stress response as children exposed to more obviously hostile home environments. The irony is that many parents believe staying calm during conflict is protecting their child. It can be, but there's a version of calm that isn't regulated. It's shut down, and their kid knows the difference immediately. And here's the part that's the hardest to hear. The kids who feel this most are usually the ones who've never said a word about it. What goes quiet and why? They still love you. That's not the variable in question. But your emotional state became part of the problem they were carrying, which means the problem doubled the moment they walked in. So they started arriving with the edited version, not to deceive you, to protect the conversation from becoming about you. They didn't stop talking. They switched to the demo version, feelings already processed out. Edges already sanded, available for immediate parental consumption. Every teenager who slowly stopped confiding in a parent has a very specific memory of when the shift happened. It's almost never the big fights. It's the small ones, the time they said something real and watched your face go somewhere else, the time they needed you to stay and got a pivot instead. You don't remember it. They could timestamp it. What repair actually looks like. And this is where most parents lose it completely. None of this is a verdict. This is not a lifetime ban from your own child. Safety isn't something you either have or don't. It's something they're continuously recalibrating based on new evidence. And new evidence can change the reading. There's a name for this: earned security. And the surprising part is that it can shift even in adolescence. The old read doesn't disappear, but new proof gathers alongside it. And over time, the story in their head starts to change. What actually rebuilds it is way smaller than you think, and it repeats. Staying in the room when it would be easier to leave. Letting the silence sit instead of filling it. Asking a follow-up question instead of pivoting to a solution. Receiving bad news without making the news compete with your reaction to it. Every time you do that, every time you stay with the discomfort rather than redirecting away from it, you give their brain a new answer. I brought them this. They stayed. The door didn't change. The kids who feel safest aren't the ones whose parents never got it wrong. They're the ones who watch their parent notice the wrong and come back quietly, without a production, without needing a kid to make you feel better about it. They don't need perfect. They need proof that you can handle what they bring you. Safe isn't a feeling you gave them once. It's a question they're asking every time they pause at that door. The answer you gave last week isn't the one that's fixed forever, and they're still deciding if they should knock. Tomorrow, they're at the door again. If this landed, watch Why Teens Stop Trusting Their Parents. This is the map. That video is where it goes.